Aloha everyone, and welcome to this edition of Community Chat with Central Pacific Bank. I'm Tim Sakahara, Corporate Communications Manager for CPB, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome Kamea Hadar as our guest in this episode. Now that you're 40 and well into your career, where do you find inspiration for your work?
A lot of the artists that travel to Hawaii have told me that Hawaii is a place of incredible color. There isn't that haze on the horizon, like in the desert. The sky seems bluer, the plants seem greener, the ocean seems like the most beautiful blue. It just seems so much richer than when I travel, and maybe that's just my own personal kind of lens that I put on my own home. And I feel like Hawaii people are just warm and nice. If I have to paint someone and I have to stare at their face for a while, I want it to be a person that I get along with personally, right? So Carissa Moore, I mean, knowing her personally and just what a kind soul she is and what a warm person it was like an honor to paint her, right? Because I want to, honor people like her who are not only tremendous athletes, but really, really amazing ambassadors of aloha.
Well, even taking that one, I mean, that one spans hundreds of feet across a building, out in the elements. What's your process for going into and completing a huge piece of work like that?
When you get to a certain scale, you have to think of yourself as like more of a carpenter or a mason or a contractor than an artist. Just because it's just too big to dilly-dally and to not have a solid plan going in. So it's like climbing Mount Everest, right? You don't do it in one day. You have different camps and you have different goals every day. And we were having trouble with the paint and blending at first, so I redid her face like 3-4 times, and
really?
it was really stressful. There's no hiding when you're up there. People can see every mistake that you make, and then if you had a bad day, it just stays up there all night, and then you have to go back the next day and kind of come up with the energy and the motivation to try to get it right the second time or the third time.
Do you have like a favorite piece that you've done?
Well, that one obviously is special to me just because I've seen the reaction of the people of Hawaii and how they seem to really be inspired by it. So that's nice. The same thing with my portrait of President Obama, that seemed to really inspire people. And that piece is about, racial equality, and the title of the piece is called Hapa, which is what we call people that are of mixed ancestry, like myself. So
and me, and majority
my
of Hawaii,
kids, everyone. So it's very much like it's not meant to be in any way political. It's meant to be about race and how much of a melting pot Hawaii is. And then I have other pieces that I like for different reasons. Like I did a piece that is similar to this composition on a 15-story building. I had never gone that big. Before that, I had gone maybe like 4 or 5 stories, and I had never gone to 15. And there's certain heights that just hit your stomach. Like, I don't know why. It's just like this weird psychological thing. So I told Corey, my assistant, I said, can you just like look down and just count like how many floors? Because I think we're like probably on like 12 or like, because you can't really see. It's hard to see. And then he reached up to this line and he said, this line is halfway. So we weren't even halfway up the wall. So I said, okay, let's just sit here. So we sat there in silence for like 20 minutes and kind of just like thought about it. Maybe I'll change the sketch. Maybe I'll cancel. Maybe. And I said, no, like let's try to do it. So Corey's like, well, what are we gonna do? And I said, we're gonna do the opposite. Instead of working our way up, we're gonna go straight to the top without stopping, and then we'll work our way down. And then when you went to 15 and then worked your way down to 12, you're at 12, 13, and it's like nothing.
Until it seemed better.
Yeah, because you're working your way down. That kind of was like a big moment for me, just like, facing your fears and
adapting. It's funny because I figured you can't be scared of heights. I wasn't even going to ask that because I figured you weren't.
No, I hate heights.
But that's funny.
But I started painting in the studio. I didn't set out to be a muralist in the beginning. It just kind of naturally evolved in that direction.
And you mentioned Powwow. You have Powwow in your hat, too.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Introduce us to that organization.
So Powwow is essentially a mural festival. Myself and Jasper Wong, who's also a big part of the CPB family, and Jeff Gress. So we're kind of like the 3 musketeers of Powwow. Essentially, was a festival that was in all these different cities around the world, and we would just paint murals for the communities. And now it's slowly have different offshoots of different types of festivals called Worldwide Walls, and then also as a creative agency to help produce art. You know, our goal is always just to uplift communities through art. Hawaii is our home, so anything that we can do for the local community and you know, grow the art scene here, that's what we aim to do.
What advice would you give an aspiring artist out there in Hawaii?
The most important step was just the first step. The idea is that you just get the ball rolling, and then as opportunities arise or as certain things gel, then you can pivot, right, and change directions. So with my own personal career, I started off experimenting with different genres, and then I slowly kind of fell into the portraiture angle, and that was kind of what I fell in love with, and then I slowly fell into doing larger and larger murals. Yeah, and then also I think just to be authentic. A lot of times we would have this, what I call a for Hawaii syndrome, where it's like, oh yeah, that concert was good for Hawaii. It should be good, period, not for Hawaii, like we have like a lesser standard or a lower bar. Not having that insecurity about where you're from, and then also using it to your benefit. So like, I'm from Hawaii and I'm inspired by Hawaii, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I don't try to be a New York artist or a Parisian artist or a Los Angeles artist. I am a Hawaii artist, and that's fine, and that's just as good.
Yeah. So I have to mention as well, you're a CPB customer.
Yes.
As I understand, right, your family even has kind of a history with Central Pacific Bank.
Yes, yes. So my grandfather was part of the famous 442 Japanese American unit. So his generation here in Hawaii was a lot of the people that were the founders of the bank. My parents have been lifelong customers of the bank, and my mom, I remember she had a little shop in Manoa with my auntie before I was in kindergarten. I was around 4 or 5, and she took me to the bank one day in the afternoon, and I remember opening my first CPB bank account and getting this little blue book, and I could write in it, and of course I had no idea what it all meant, but yeah, I very, very, very distinctly remember that blue book. It was like a very special thing because it was something like more tangible for me as a kid.
It's true,
Yeah.
yeah. And you were mentioning you were going to open an account for Nova.
Yeah. So, you know, she's next in line, and she needs to graduate from her little porcelain unicorn piggy bank to an actual bank, right? Now that she's losing all her teeth and has serious tooth fairy money coming in. So she needs to open her first account. And
she's generating money and revenue now, so, you know, it's key.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but she's almost run out. I mean, she's got like almost none left.
She's going to have to find another source of revenue.
Yeah, you know, maybe she might have to bum some teeth off her brother or something.
That's funny.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let me ask you, you know, as an artist, I'm always curious, who are you a fan of?
You know, in recent years, just through powwow, I've really come to admire a lot of living artists who are my age, and Tristan Eaton's come to powwow many times, and he's super talented, and I've painted with him and just seen his process and just see like how hard he works and how talented he is. So a lot of my peers that are in that way professional, I really appreciate, you know. And Jasper and Gress, my other partner, nothing but respect for them. I mean, the three of us were able to create powwow and do what we do, and every one of us brings something different to the table. So it's so cool to like have that balance with all your friends and have fellow creatives in Hawaii that have the same goals as you.
Yeah. Well, it is a good team for sure.
Yeah.
And we are certainly a fan of yours, Kamea. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a CPB ambassador. And
Of
more
course.
importantly, thank you for all you do for the community.
Thank you.
And for other aspiring artists out there. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you on the next Community Chat with Central Pacific Bank.